Hello, my name's Charlie, Charlie Dryer. I'm here today to have a chat to you about a number of things that I guess that are happening in the future for your organisation, Net Zero. I've been asked by Marita and also Julie, Dom and Em, to come and have a chat to you about the Net Zero internship that's on offer for an Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander person. Currently studying, I suppose, in university, probably the disciplines around environment and also carbon emissions. So that's what I'm going to be talking to you a bit about. I'm going to introduce myself fully before I get started, but also I'd like to just acknowledge country. I'm originally from Gimoy, which is up the north, and my people are the Yidinji people. That's where I was born. So Gimoy is more commonly known as Cairns in North Queensland. My mother was from that country around Yarrabah, but she also had connections to places like the Mamu country, Mamu people, south of Cairns around Innisfail, of course, Cookanallingi up near the Port Douglas Mossman area, and then also Jabbergai people up on the top of the range near Atherton. Dad, on the other hand, is a Torres Strait Islander. His family came to Australia, to the mainland, I guess, around wartime, I suppose, the 1940s. They were evacuated away from the Torres Straits because there was an air base up there. The Australian Air Force were up there flying out of Horn Island. So a lot of their locals were then moved from their island, I guess, and down to places like Darwin or Cairns. So my grandfather ended up in Cairns. He's a Budigal person. He's from Badu Island. So I'd like to also pay my respects to the Budigal people. In saying so, I'd also like to pay my respect and acknowledge the land that you guys are coming in from. Wherever you are around Australia, I believe that there's a lot of staff attending this conference and safe travels. I'm not sure where you're having the conference today, but I just wanted to make sure that acknowledge the country that you're on at the moment, but plus also where you're going home to. Okay, so I'm going to tell you a little bit about me, I suppose, as an introduction. Um, I first got my start some years ago as a administrator. I was attending a business college, and there was a local small business that needed someone to be an administrator for them. So someone in the office to do all the paperwork and paper shuffling, all that sort of stuff. In fact, that's some time ago now because I learned on a one of those manual typewriters. We had to push the keys in and do the return and all that sort of stuff. So that's some time ago. But I was only like 16 or 15. I was 15. I recall, and I went to business college in Innisfail. Probably about 9 months into the course, I was offered a position in a small business, which I was happy to take the opportunity. A little bit about me, I suppose. When there's an opportunity, I just like to take them. It doesn't. I really don't. I certainly have a think about things, but I know that it would challenge me. I knew that what I'm actually about to get myself into is something that is going to shape me for the rest of my life. So, and I got to say, throughout my history of employment, I have jumped from different places to different places, just experiencing everything that I can while I'm there, and then either through natural attrition or being offered other work elsewhere, I'd move on. So, but that the other work, of course, would be nothing like what I'm leaving. So that's a little bit about me. So I got my really first start through the business college, and they asked me whether I'd like to take on this position as their administrator. Um, I did a little bit. It was great that I had the job for about 5 years, but in that time, I was also doing some stuff out in the workshop as well. I do all their stuff like payrolls, invoicing, a whole range of stuff. To do with the invoicing, I suppose. But I would do with administration. I'd be putting orders in. I'd be doing a whole range of stuff. Generally, towards the end of the year, end of the month, and beginning of the month. In that middle period, I was doing a little bit of work outside. So I got a bit bored sitting in the office. So I asked the boss whether I could come out and just do some cleaning or whatever, sweeping the floor, doing something that could keep me busy. Otherwise, I'd be falling asleep in the office, which didn't really want to be caught doing. So yeah, that's a little bit about my first start, I suppose. From there, I was offered I did some other jobs just to like interim, bit of a gap year, I suppose you could say. I was worked there for 5 years, and then after that, I went back up to Cairns, where I was born, up to Gimoy, to see my father's family. And while I was up there, I was scouted to um, take on a job down in central Queensland as in the construction industry, to learn the craft of dogman and rigging. So I did that for probably about 3 4 years, but then I got a job in the mining industry. So you can see how I'm jumping all over the place. So it's led me to being here today, I suppose, and talking a bit about internships and giving someone a start. I think that's a really important bit about uh, what I've experienced in my life is they've given me a go. They saw that I had the ability to do something, and that something was to learn. I suppose I had the ability to learn a lot of stuff. Whatever was put in front of me, I'd learn as quickly as I could, so that I could, you know, contribute, I suppose, to the productivity of that particular organisation. Um, Later days, I jumped into a university down in Armidale, University of New England. I did some work, did study community development. When straight after that, I had a job in Mackay as a community development officer. So and then I was working with community, so people, and I think that is also the with anything you do, we work with other people, and it's important that we um, build those relationships. Help out as much as we can, and also ask for help if we need it. So yeah, that's another thing that I was pretty good at doing. I was always asking. I was always forward in terms of asking for help. So sometimes you'll find I've had other younger Aboriginal people come into an organisation that I was in. It was a traineeship. I think they came in as, and I was the only other Aboriginal person in the office. In fact, I guess, and what I can see, what I remember now is there are a number of positions where I was the only Aboriginal person in that office or in that organisation. So I ended up, when these trainees came on board, these Aboriginal Torres Strait Islander trainees, I was their mentor, I guess, and I could see a little bit of myself in them, and I really did help them to, get comfortable, get confident, which is something that a lot of young people are very confident in asking for help, whether they're Aboriginal or not. So got to hopefully you can agree with me on that. So yeah, and that's part of what is needed, I guess, with Net Zero in terms of taking on an intern who's currently studying. It's important that to surround that person with some support, um, get them to understand that if they have any questions they should ask. It'll be a short period of time. I believe it's a 7-week program that Net Zero have offered, I guess, to be taken up by a student. So that's a short period of time, but in that short period of time, we'd hope to think that that person who came in is well supported by the organisation. So that's the team that they get placed in, but also the supervision and management. Excuse me, 1 minute. Uh, okay, so there's many benefits, I suppose, in terms of taking on an Aboriginal Torres Strait Islander person in an internship. Within an organisation. I mean, some of the things that I brought to the table, I suppose, as I was being employed by different organisations, um, is a different perspective, I guess. So some of the things that I do in terms of that is like some of that cultural insight and kind of diversity stuff that happens, I guess. All of a sudden, there's an Aboriginal Torres Strait Islander person. There's a little bit of adjustment that needs to be happen, maybe, but I was okay with, you know, um, uh, hoping that everyone considered that I was just a fellow employee. Um, I think I was 33 when I started doing a lot of work in statewide organisations, the Queensland government and the Australian government. So, I was around that age, I suppose, that I had a little bit of confidence based on a lot of the work that I did previously. And I brought a little bit more of that, that insight, I suppose, that cultural insight. So Aboriginal Australians, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Australians, they bring valuable cultural insights and perspectives that can enhance the creativity and problem solving within the team. You know what I mean? So it gives you a little bit different thinking, and I think it's a mutual thing that we can bounce things off each other. And certainly, I would say that an intern would probably absorb more than what your experienced team would know their knowledge. So they'll be asking that a lot. So. Um, Also cultural awareness. I know that that's a catchphrase of the I don't know, the 90s, 80s, I think, yeah. So, but it fosters a more inclusive workplace and helps understanding about, servicing diverse markets a lot better. You know, Unlike an organised cultural awareness uh, training that might come in or workshops that might come into your organisation, there's an opportunity here where you have someone for 7 weeks who you can, approach, ask some questions depending on, what sort of workload that person has, I guess. And I'm sure that an intern would be able to give you a little bit of an insight, especially a younger insight into, I must say younger or older, because, the intern may be of a mature age. So, some insights into culture, I guess, ask the question. Um, in terms of having someone that's Aboriginal or Torres Strait in your organisation, in Net Zero, um, it's also um, it's also important that community kind of know that that's happened. It's really you know that person's seen, I guess, especially not locked away in the office, but also out and about when you're doing some community work. It helps to build some relationships with Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander communities, and it's all about trust, confidence, perception as well, and whether or not you get the community support. So a lot of times when I did some work for what they call the Queensland Community Services and Health Industry Training Council, I was out and about quite a lot. I would be the only Aboriginal person, and my job was to develop some pathways into the health industry for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. So I kind of was the person, I suppose. I didn't lead the project. I was the project, so I was the project manager, the worker, the researcher, the consultant, the engager, connecting people, all that kind of stuff. So it really helped to know that the person that they talk to is an Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander as well. So it was really interesting, traveling around the country. I ended up getting on a project that was a national project. So I went from the state project, checking out career pathways for Aboriginal people in the Queensland system, to a national project. I think it was probably about 30 days after I started, because I was still trying to feel my way through what my job was and how I was going to go about it. And it was all about planning at that stage. But then the plan got sidetracked, and they put me in a role that needed a lot of consultations and engagement around communities right around Australia. So that year, I think it was 1996. I think I circumnavigated Australia in lots of communities all over the place. And funny enough, it was really interesting that communities that I went into, we found some common ground. There was connection in terms of who I was and my people and all the people that I've worked with to someone in that community. It was really interesting, and it made me feel like that, when we talked about community engagement, it made me feel that, there was common ground that we could actually sit down and have a chat then, once we sort of, sounded each other out and found out who they were. So it's good to, have someone in the organisation that is going to be doing some work with you guys and learning, I guess. They're students, so they're actually getting that workplace experience. But if it's in the office, that's great. But really utilize that person if you have some meetings with Aboriginal community. Would be really great. That'll be a great experience for them, like it was for me when I first started going out to communities that I was never aware of. Okay, so part of what uh, I've done a lot of work in employment and training as well. So part of that is around corporate responsibility, that's social responsibility, about organisations demonstrating social issues, I suppose, commitment to social issues that can enhance like Net Zero's reputation. So, all of the 6 clients, I've had a look at the website of Net Zero are holders of reconciliation action plans, as you guys have as well. You have a reconciliation action plan. And so that goes down well in terms of that social responsibility. The old saying, birds of a feather flock together. It's great that not only have your clients, but you've got one as well. Net Zero has, and if you haven't had a look at it, please go and have a look at that. If you can source it from HR or management, yeah, certainly get a copy of it, have a look at what's involved in that and how it all falls out, I guess. Okay, so having a little bit of insight into Net Zero and trying to look at best practice in terms of reducing carbon emissions. Um, I um I often think about Aboriginal communities and what they do in terms of environment. This is what they do. They live in a world that that they've managed for many years. I think custodian is the word I guess I'm looking for. They looked after country, and yeah, there's certainly a bit of information or a bit of knowledge there that hopefully can be picked up during this young person's or this intern, I suppose, that's coming into the organisation. Um, so they've got Aboriginal people have got a great understanding of environment and also how that affects their livelihood, how it affects their culture. They have the dreaming stories, of course, but they also relied on sustainability, I guess. They didn't over farm. They didn't over hunt. They knew that they only could take what they could because they wanted to ensure that the food supply or what they're doing is going to be sustainable. And a lot of it's pretty sad actually to see that a lot of the waterways have been drying up mainly because of the use of the water in crop growing and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's kind of sad and it's an ongoing thing, I suppose. But yeah, it's like the Murray. I think they reckon that when I was out that way, they said this is the bloodline of our people, and that's what they called it. It's kind of like, oh wow, that's like a vein or whatever that's flowing through their country that keeps everything alive. And they're amazing, amazing people, but certainly been battling many years in terms of getting that sorted out with government in particular, but also the farmers. Um, so this also having someone in an organisation on a temporary basis, I guess, like for that 7 weeks, it's an opportunity to see how they go, have some opinions about their performance, I suppose, but also it's a try before you buy type of thing as well. So, you've put in 7 weeks of support and guidance for this intern. I shouldn't say young or old intern. And it's always difficult to let people go once that 7 weeks is up, especially if they've done a good job and there's a lot of promise. But there's no reason why that there could be some other opportunity to to retain or even to assure give some assurity about work with Net Zero. So, and they also have to be, I suppose they have to be happy with that as well. You know what I mean? They come into an organisation, they don't know anyone, they work for 7 weeks, they learn as much as they can, but it's all about how do they enjoy working for Net Zero. Yeah, so yeah, that's why we need to make sure we have the support for those interns. Um, yes, so a lot of opportunity as well. I'm where I'm at the moment because I took a chance and did something and proved and obviously performed well with what I did in the initial job that I had. But it's brought me into leadership. I learned along the way. Set up a number of organisations, became chair of a number of organisations. Um, worked around a lot of Aboriginal communities just in consultation and engagement. So they know who I am, and it's really a lot easier once that happens. Once you've got that connection and the engagement already happening. But it's always good. I actually mentor today. I actually mentor about 3 people. Actually four. I just finished with one of them after 12 months. He was with ANZ Bank, and so he was a young Aboriginal fellow. He was from up in Mareeba. I'm from Cairns, so it's not nice and close. So we had a familiarity. Like I said, we've got a connection somewhere. The other 3 are from Santos, so Santos Mining, Santos Energy. One's a HR, the other is a superintendent on the mine side, and the other is like a cultural heritage guy. So, and my job there was to help them, unpack a lot of stuff first, what they've learned, and then put it back together again. So, and we talked a little about goals and things that they're wanting to achieve within their career, but also with family life, personal stuff that they want to achieve. So you can't have one without the other. Your work's got to marry up with where you're going with your family, and or where you're going. So that's really important as well. But in terms of that stuff, I suppose it's potentially coming back, having the experience, coming back into a significant role within organisations around environment and also carbon emissions is a big opportunity to start to bring in some leadership skills for that person. Definitely would be great to have someone with that ability. I know everyone, I guess, in your organisation has a role to play, and you do that to the best of your knowledge, and have some success with that. So hopefully that a little bit of guidance, and I think that maybe I'll have the chance to mentor this particular intern once they start their 7 weeks, so we can keep them on track. And that's something that I've talked to Marita and also Emily when she was there, and now Julie. So we'll have more chats about that down the track. So you'll also, obviously you'll have the internal support within the organisation, but externally, it's great to have someone outside the organisation to, catch up, see how they're going, and encourage them to open up, I suppose. So okay, so the other thing around I found with larger organisations in particular is around the aligning the values of their organisation that include Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. Their commitment to equity and inclusion, I guess. Uh, it's important that it's not just a box you tick. It's also about the community or the service that you provide. Do you just provide it to non-Aboriginal people, or do you provide it to Aboriginal people as well? So, or do you provide it to the Asian community? So within your organisation, you need to have that mixed makeup, I suppose, that reflects your clients, if you like. That's what I think anyway. If you've got an Aboriginal person in the organisation, then obviously you've got that covered. You've got that connection, and you're able to, consult with those communities. Um, Also, around goals, I guess, certainly in your HR policy, Net Zero's HR policy, but also reconciliation action plan, there are some targets to meet, there's some goals. So I think in terms of this internship, um, some of those boxes will be ticked, but it's not just the ticking of boxes, it's actually about how do we add value to the organisation by what we do. Um, Yeah, I'm sure you've got a fairly dynamic team at the moment. So add in an Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander intern, and I know it's only 7 weeks, but this may be a regular thing happening. I suppose once that person graduates, who knows what might happen. Um, uh, and as I mentioned, it's all about your organisation should reflect the values of the community that you serve. So yeah. So yeah, that's all. Some of the things I think I've noticed over the years, and when we try to, I know that there's been, I worked, like I said, in traineeships and in employment. Government really looked at numbers of Aboriginal people into organisations, but it wasn't about the numbers. I think it was more about how do we build a workforce that's inclusive, that reflects the community. How do we ensure that we then have the best employees in our organisation? You know what I mean? So it's really important when we take it away from just numbers. I think over in the States they have what do they call it, a DUI or DEI or something like that. Targets. And we try to get away from targets. It's actually about getting some diversity in your organisation, having especially Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, mainly because of the history behind that culture, those people. Um, you know, throughout Australia. So, um, you know, uh, they were First Nations people, and usually they're the last to be employed, which is crazy anyway. So, but that's just me talking as an Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander person. Okay, so enjoy the rest of your uh, gathering this year, 2026 Net Zero National Conference, I should say. I hope if you have any questions, just get on to Julie or Marita. They have my contact details. Unfortunately, I couldn't be there today. I'm actually going to be in Darwin tomorrow. I'm in Bali at the moment. That's where I've been living for the last 7 months, and then also 3 months over in Spain, Madrid. But I'm back here in Bali, so I'm heading off to Darwin tomorrow. Hence, I'm not able to do this and do this link up online. So I've got a few things to do in Darwin. So yeah, so I thought I'd just send you this quick video. I hope it's been quick. I hope I haven't taken too much of your time. Thank you, Julie. Thank you, Marita. Thank you, everyone, for listening. If you have any questions about interns, once you get the person on, I'm sure it will all make sense. It's really about providing an opportunity for someone that not necessarily has that opportunity or will have that or have had that opportunity in the past. So, it really is to go have some connection to the way we cared and shared for the land back in the days. And they still do that now in a lot of communities, especially on the land. So thank you very much. It's Charlie from Bali, and wish you all the best. Have a great year. And yeah, I'm hoping to be able to catch up again sometime in the new year, 2026. Adios.